Most people have no idea what truly changes, and what doesn't, in a woman's intimacy as she ages. Her words are gentle, but her wisdom is powerful. Stay with us to hear the truths every woman, and man, needs to understand. Right finger if you value real-life wisdom, hit subscribe, tap like, leave a comment, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Lesson 1. Desire doesn't die, it evolves. I believed desire faded with age, she says with a gentle smile. But I discovered it simply deepens. For many women, there comes a time, usually around midlife, when the world starts sending the message that sexuality has an expiration date. Gray hair, soft wrinkles, and shifting hormones are wrongly seen as signs that sensuality is over. But this 76-year-old woman, after decades of silence, is here to say that's a myth. A damaging, unnecessary myth. Desire, she explains, is not about being young or flawless. It's about being alive. I used to think I had to look a certain way to feel wanted. But now, I understand desire isn't about what I look like, it's about how I feel inside. As the years passed, her connection to her body changed. It became less about appearance and more about presence. Less about performance, more about connection. In her 30s and 40s, she admits, sex was sometimes about meeting someone else's expectations. In her 70s, it's about meeting her own truth. The emotional maturity that comes with age makes desire more meaningful, more nuanced, and surprisingly, more freeing. There's less pressure, less comparison, just raw, honest intimacy. She says, when you've lived a life full of responsibilities, disappointments, and joys, you don't want shallow intimacy anymore. You crave depth, understanding, and genuine closeness. That craving doesn't vanish with age, it evolves. It becomes quieter, yes, but more powerful. Desire after 60 may not look like it did at 20, but it often feels more authentic. She now views her sexuality as a living, breathing part of her identity, not something that ended with menopause. In fact, her intimacy improved once she stopped trying to match her younger self and embraced who she is today. To any woman watching, she shares this wisdom: don't believe the lie that desire disappears. It might change form, it might take time to find again, but it's still there, waiting for you to reconnect. Lesson 2. Touch is still sacred, never stop reaching for it. At my age, she says softly, I've come to see that touch is not just physical. It's emotional, it's spiritual. When she was younger, she thought intimacy was all about excitement, chemistry, and fast-moving passion. But now, at 76, she sees touch differently. It's not about youth, it's about presence. It's about someone holding your hand without rushing. It's about a hug that lingers. A gentle kiss on the shoulder that says, I'm here with you. She recalls years when touch disappeared from her life. After a divorce, after grief, after society made her feel invisible. No one tells you how hard it is when you go days, even weeks, without a single loving touch. It can feel like the world has forgotten that your skin still feels, that your heart still longs for closeness. But then something changed. She realized she didn't have to wait for permission. She didn't have to believe the lie that older women should accept loneliness quietly. So she reached out, she held a friend's hand. She embraced her grandchildren. She even let herself explore new romantic possibilities, not with shame, but with grace. She says, touch is not just about sex. It's about connection. It's about being reminded that you still matter. Science backs her up. Studies show that physical touch reduces stress, boosts oxytocin, and improves emotional well-being, especially in older adults. Yet, so many women go without it, believing that desire for touch is something they should grow out of. To any woman who feels starved of affection, she says this: you're not needy. You're human, and you deserve touch that is kind, respectful, and healing, no matter your age. She now surrounds herself with people who understand this. People who hug often, sit close, and aren't afraid to show affection. She's learned that the heart doesn't stop needing warmth just because the calendar changes. So don't shrink from touch. Reach for it, ask for it, give it freely. Because it's not just skin meeting skin, it's soul meeting soul. Lesson 3. You're not too old for pleasure. I used to think pleasure had an expiration date, she says, her eyes shining. But that was someone else's story, not mine. At 76, she speaks with the kind of confidence that only comes from living through years of doubt, shame, and rediscovery. For most of her life, she believed what the world told her, that pleasure was for the young, the beautiful, the perfect. And once a woman passed a certain age, she was expected to trade sensuality for silence. But then something remarkable happened. She stopped trying to live up to a lie. Pleasure, she explains, is not a luxury reserved for youth. It's a basic part of being alive. It's not always about sex. It can be a warm bath, a tender caress, the feeling of a lover's breath on your neck, or the simple delight of exploring your body with love, not judgment. She shares how, in her 60s, she started to reconnect with her body, not through shame, but with curiosity. She allowed herself to feel again. Without guilt, she threw out the old rulebook and wrote a new one. I realized I don't owe the world modesty. I owe myself honesty. What surprised her most? Pleasure became more meaningful. It was no longer rushed or performative. It became slower, more intentional, more powerful. Without the burden of insecurity or comparison, her body became a friend, not a battlefield. She wants every woman listening to know this: you are not too old for pleasure. You are not too broken, too wrinkled, too late. You are simply ready for a new kind of intimacy, one that honors who you are today. So many women stop seeking joy because they fear being judged. But she insists, pleasure is not selfish. It's healing. It's yours. She calls on every woman to reclaim her right to feel good, to explore, to ask for what she wants. Because when you give yourself permission to enjoy your own body, your own sensations, you begin to live fully, again. Don't wait for someone else to validate you. You are worthy now, not years ago, not someday, now. Lesson 4. Communication is the new foreplay. At 76, I've learned this. A real conversation can be more intimate than any bedroom act, she says with a knowing smile. And good communication? That's the new foreplay. When she was younger, she often kept quiet during intimate moments. She didn't want to seem too demanding, too curious, or too experienced. She learned to go along rather than speak up. I thought that's what a good woman did, she admits. Stay quiet, be agreeable, let the man lead. But with time, and many years of silence, she discovered that the real key to deep intimacy isn't silent compliance. It's communication. It's the bravery to say what you want, what you don't, what you hope for, and what makes you feel truly seen. She laughs gently as she says, foreplay now starts at breakfast, with kindness, honesty, and a little flirting over coffee. For her, intimacy began to improve dramatically the moment she found her voice. No more guessing games, no more pretending. She learned to say, I like it when you hold me like this, or that doesn't feel right. Can we try something else? And the reward? Deeper connection, stronger trust, more pleasure. She explains that mature relationships benefit from this openness. We're not trying to impress each other anymore. We're trying to understand each other. That's what makes it real. She encourages women not to wait decades like she did. You don't need a certain age to start speaking up. You just need the courage to believe that your needs matter. She also reminds men, if you truly want to connect with her, listen. Not just to her words, but to her silences, her body language, her tone. Real intimacy starts with listening. Now, she views communication as the foundation for any physical connection. It builds safety. It breaks old shame. It invites vulnerability, the true doorway to closeness. So if you want to spark intimacy that lasts, don't start in the bedroom. Start with a conversation. Share your fears. Reveal your desires. Ask questions. Listen with care. And watch how the flame rekindles, gently, naturally, powerfully. Because as she wisely says, good lovers are made through good conversations. Lesson 5. Let go of the young body myth. I wasted decades trying to compete with the woman I once was, she confesses. And it almost stole my joy. At 76, she has finally made peace with her body. But it took time. In her 40s and 50s, she watched her body soften, wrinkle, and slow down. Instead of honoring it, she criticized it. The media, the beauty industry, and even well-meaning friends made her feel as though intimacy was only meant for firm skin and flat stomachs. I used to look in the mirror and think, who would want this? She says honestly. But the real question was, why didn't I still want it? The truth is, many women silently grieve the loss of their youthful appearance without realizing that sensuality doesn't live in the mirror. It lives in how you feel. Confidence, warmth, tenderness, and self-love are far more attractive than any photo-filtered image of youth. She shares how she eventually stopped hiding under oversized shirts or dimmed bedroom lights. One night, I looked at my body and said, "You've walked me through everything. You've earned love, not shame." That moment was a turning point. She embraced her age, not as a loss, but as a rich story. Every line on her face, every curve, every scar held memories of life, motherhood, passion, and resilience. Why should she hide them? She realized men who truly care don't want a perfect body. They want a present woman. A woman who knows herself. Who shows up with softness, humor, and heart. And if someone doesn't see the beauty in that, she says, they're not ready for real love. Now, she moves differently. Freer, lighter, no longer chasing youth, but honoring herself. She urges women, stop comparing. Stop apologizing. Your beauty didn't leave, it just changed clothes. Your body today is not broken. It's wise. It's worthy. It's enough. So let go of the young body myth. Embrace your now body, your lived-in skin, your earned beauty. Because real sensuality isn't about youth, it's about truth. And once you accept your truth, everything about you begins to glow again. Lesson 6. Self-love is the foundation. At 76, I finally understood that no partner could love me better than I love myself. For much of her life, she looked outside herself for validation. She believed that being wanted, desired, or chosen would make her feel worthy. But that left her in a cycle of self-doubt. When relationships didn't last, when compliments stopped coming, she began to question her value. I thought if someone loved me, then I could love myself, she recalls. But it was the other way around all along. The turning point came after a long season of loneliness. No partner. No romantic gestures, just her and her thoughts. At first, it was painful. But slowly, she began treating herself the way she always wished a lover would. She cooked beautiful meals for herself. She bought lingerie for herself, not for anyone else to see, but to remind herself that she was still feminine, still alive. I stopped waiting for someone to see me, she says. I started seeing myself. She began writing in a journal, saying kind things to her reflection, and exploring her body without shame. These small acts of self-love began to rebuild her spirit. It wasn't about being selfish, she explains. It was about being whole. Over time, everything changed. She attracted different people, more respectful, more attentive. And even if no one showed up, she felt full, complete, at peace. She believes self-love is the foundation of healthy intimacy. When you love yourself, you stop settling. You stop pretending. You ask for what you need without guilt. You give without emptying yourself. For women who've been told to prioritize everyone else, she offers this gentle reminder. You're not here to serve until you disappear. You're here to be nourished, too. Self-love isn't always easy. It's a daily practice. Some days are harder than others. But once you start showing up for yourself, the world begins to treat you differently, because you've set the tone. Her advice? Take yourself on a date. Dress for yourself. Speak kindly to yourself. Touch your own skin with tenderness. Love yourself first, not because no one else will, but because you deserve to feel cherished, no matter what. Because when you love yourself deeply, you become irresistible, not just to others, but to life itself. Lesson 7. Intimacy is not just physical, it's emotional and spiritual. At this age, she says with quiet certainty, I've learned that true intimacy begins long before bodies touch. It begins in the heart. When she was younger, she believed intimacy meant physical closeness, kisses, touches, shared beds. But as time passed, her understanding deepened. You can lie beside someone and feel completely alone, she says. And you can sit across a table from someone and feel more naked than you've ever been. Now, at 76, she sees intimacy as something layered, physical, yes, but also emotional, spiritual, and deeply personal. It's found in meaningful eye contact, In a quiet moment of mutual understanding. In being seen, heard, and accepted without judgment. She shares the story of a man she met in her later years. He wasn't flashy or young. But he listened. He asked about her childhood dreams. He remembered the small things. And when he held her hand, he didn't try to rush her into anything. He made space for her feelings, her stories, her fears. That's intimacy, she says. It's not about performance, it's about presence. She explains how, especially in later years, emotional safety becomes far more important than physical thrill. I don't need fireworks, she says. I need warmth, trust, and truth. And yes, the physical part still matters. But when it's built on emotional connection and spiritual respect, it becomes something richer, something sacred. When you feel emotionally safe with someone, she says, your body responds in a different way. You open up, not out of duty, but out of genuine desire. She encourages women to stop measuring intimacy by age, appearance, or frequency. Instead, ask, do I feel safe? Do I feel understood? Do I feel seen? If the answer is yes, you've found intimacy worth keeping. To the women who feel like they've lost the spark, she offers hope. You haven't lost it, you've just outgrown superficial flames. Now, you're ready for the fire that warms your soul. So open your heart before your arms. Build the bond before you bare your body. Because real intimacy, the kind that changes you, is always more than physical. It's emotional, it's spiritual, and yes, it's still possible at any age. Lesson 8. Healing from shame unlocks your power. At 76, I've carried a lot of shame, about my body, my desires, even my mistakes, she admits. But I learned that shame is a thief. It steals your joy and your power. For many women her age, shame is a silent burden passed down through generations. It whispers that wanting pleasure is selfish, that talking about sex is taboo, and that aging means fading into invisibility. She remembers years when she hid her feelings, doubted her worth, and silenced her needs, all because shame told her she wasn't enough. But over time, something shifted. She began to see shame for what it truly is, a false story, not a truth. She started talking openly with trusted friends and seeking support. She confronted the painful beliefs and gently released them. It wasn't easy, she says, but it was freeing. Healing from shame changed everything. She rediscovered confidence and curiosity about her own body. She learned to ask for what she wanted without guilt. And she attracted partners who respected her fully, mind, body, and spirit. Science supports her story. Shame activates fear and isolation in the brain, while self-acceptance opens pathways to connection and joy. When you heal shame, you reclaim your voice and your choices. She urges women not to wait to heal until everything is perfect, because it never is. Start where you are, she says. Be kind to yourself. Tell your story. Find people who listen without judgment. She also warns against comparing your healing journey to others. It's not a race. It's a dance. Sometimes slow, sometimes fast, but always moving forward. By facing shame head-on, you unlock a deeper sense of freedom. You stop shrinking and start shining. You move from surviving to thriving. Her message is clear: you are not your shame. You are your courage to heal. So give yourself permission to heal, to feel worthy, to embrace your sexuality with pride and peace. Because when you heal shame, you don't just change your life, you inspire others to do the same. Lesson 9. Embrace your desire without apology. At 76, I've learned to own my desires, and I no longer apologize for them, she says with a smile that radiates quiet power. For decades, she suppressed her desires, convinced that as an older woman, wanting sex or intimacy was somehow improper or selfish. Society's silent rules told her to be modest, reserved, even invisible in her sexuality. She often felt guilty for having needs at all, but over time, she realized something important. Desire is a natural part of being human, no matter your age. It's not shameful or embarrassing. It's a signal, a reminder that you are alive, vibrant, and connected to yourself. She shares how she began to shift her mindset, from hiding desire to embracing it openly. It wasn't always easy. There were moments of doubt and fear, but with practice, she learned to listen to her body's signals, honor her feelings, and express what she wanted. Desire is not about needing someone else to complete you. She explains, it's about honoring your own spirit and pleasure. She encourages women to stop apologizing for wanting affection, touch, or passion. You deserve pleasure. You deserve joy. You deserve to say yes and no on your own terms. She also highlights the importance of removing guilt from desire. Guilt makes desire confusing and complicated. Without guilt, desire becomes a clear, beautiful language between you and your body, and between you and your partner. Her message to women is empowering. Speak your desires with pride. Share them with courage, and never let anyone make you feel wrong for wanting love and intimacy. She reminds us all that desire doesn't fade, it transforms. It becomes deeper, richer, and more meaningful with age. So embrace your desire without apology. Let it be a source of joy, connection, and self-expression. Because your desires are valid, beautiful, and worthy, at every age. Lesson 10. Redefining sexuality on your own terms. At 76, I realized something liberating. My sexuality belongs to me, not to society, not to anyone else, she says with gentle conviction. For years, she lived under the pressure of others' expectations, how a woman should look, behave, or desire. She felt confined by rules written for younger bodies and younger minds. But aging brought clarity. She discovered that sexuality is not one size fits all. It evolves, adapts, and is deeply personal. She explains that redefining sexuality means letting go of outdated ideas, like performance, frequency, or appearance, and embracing what truly feels authentic to you. It might mean slower, softer intimacy. It might mean exploring new forms of connection. It might mean saying no to what doesn't feel right. Your sexuality is your story, she says. It's shaped by your experiences, your joys, your losses, and it's yours to write however you want. She encourages women to honor their desires, fears, and boundaries equally. You don't have to fit any mold. You get to create your own. This freedom allowed her to reconnect with pleasure on her terms, without shame or pressure. She learned to savor moments of tenderness and laughter, to appreciate intimacy beyond the physical, and to celebrate herself as a whole person. She urges her audience not to compare their sexuality to anyone else's or to societal ideals. Comparison steals joy. Your journey is unique and beautiful. By owning your sexuality, you reclaim power, joy, and self-respect. You open doors to new kinds of intimacy, ones that nourish your soul. Her final wisdom? Age isn't the end of sexuality, it's the beginning of a new chapter. One where you write the rules, choose the pace, and love yourself fiercely. So, redefine your sexuality boldly and kindly. Celebrate your story, your body, and your desires. Because your sexuality is a gift, a lifelong journey to cherish and explore. Conclusion. Thank you for listening to this wise advice from a 76-year-old woman about female sexuality. Remember, your desires, your body, and your journey are beautiful and worthy, no matter your age. If this video inspired you, please like, comment your thoughts or stories below, and share it with others who need to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe for more empowering content made just for you. Together, let's celebrate confidence, self-love, and joy in every stage of life. Your voice matters, keep shining.